Welcome to my workshop. In today's video, a new table saw from Metabo TS254. Let's have a look at it. Now today's video is not a review video. Today we're going to have a look at the features of this machine, at the specs, so we can more or less understand what we can expect from it. As you can see, it is a very compact saw, so it will fit in your van, it will fit in a very small workshop as well. As it is right now, it's 750 millimeters tall, 740 millimeters wide, and 350 millimeters deep. So the footprint of this machine is fairly small, and with the two wheels at the base of this machine, it's quite easy to move it around. It's actually not too heavy either if you need to lift it up. It does come with foldable legs, so let's undo them now. However, now trying to lift the saw up is not as simple and it's not as easy. Now when the machine is on the legs, it's actually quite solid. It's not rocking left to right or front to back, so that's a good sign, especially for a table saw. So I just want to tell you that this is not my saw. I have not bought this saw, and it's not a new saw. This saw belongs to my brother. At the moment he doesn't need it, so he sent it over to me, so you know, I can do a couple of videos, see how it performs and see if it's any good or better or worse, you don't know, than my current Rage 5 Evolution. That, you know, I've done plenty of videos, and you know, it's a bit of a love and hate relationship with that saw. And I was curious to actually check out something else, something new, as I had the Rage for donkeys of years and I really wanted to test something new. The brand itself, Metabo, it's somewhere in the middle, okay? It's not the cheapest, it's not bad, but it's not the greatest either, and it's not obviously the most expensive one out there. It does sit somewhere in the middle with the price range and with the quality of the tools. So it will be interesting to see how good this one actually is. So let's start with some facts and figures when it comes to this machine. The motor itself, it is fairly powerful, 2000 watts, so there's definitely enough power there. The blade it can tackle is 254 millimeters, and the bore hole of the blade needs to be 30 millimeters, so more or less a industry standard. As it is in this compact state, the table is 73 centimeters wide and 61 centimeters deep. However, you can actually extend the table itself from the right hand side. There's a lever somewhere just here. There we go. You can push it down, lock it back in place, and now our table goes to 1 meter. So that's a fairly decent amount. Now, as it is a job site saw, all the accessories actually will find its place on the tool itself. So for example, the fence is located just over here on the side of the machine with the blade guard as well. So when you install the fence right at the edge, lock it in place, the distance from the fence to the blade itself, so the maximum cut capacity is 630 millimeters. So it's definitely a decent size for a saw of this size. Now, installation of the blade guard is super easy. On one side you've got a locking lever, you've got a notch over there, so just place it over the notch, slide it in and lock it in place, and that's it. However, as you can see, it doesn't have a dust board on top, so we're only relying on dust collection from underneath of the machine. But let's be honest with ourselves, it is a job site saw, and the dust collection is definitely not first on the list when this machine was designed. However, I have actually not tested this machine yet, and I don't know how the dust collection performs on this, so it will be interesting to see how bad or good it may be, and it will be interesting to see how it compares to the Evolution Rage 5S, but that will come in a separate video. As we are still looking at the top of this machine, it actually does have an Outfeed table or support. So basically you can unlock it by two knobs at the back and try to pull this out. Well, that wasn't easy for sure. Lock it in place. Let's have a look how stable it is. It's actually not flimsy, it's quite stable, and it does give you a bit more capacity and support as you are pushing the material through. So let's have a look how far it is from the end of the blade. 54 centimeters. I think that's a decent capacity there, guys, with the support. I don't think you're going to need more. And obviously, if you do have shorter pieces, you can get that a little bit shorter. And yeah, probably a bit of WD-40 on the rails to make them work a little bit easier would be beneficial. Yeah, definitely. But not a major problem there, really. Right, let's have a look at the rest of the items that are stored on this machine. On the side of the machine, you've got a couple of things you can have a look at. The wheels themselves. You've got some plastic stoppers, so without any hesitation, you can put this machine on its side where the wheels are. And over here, we do have a storage for a blade. So you can put your spare blades over here, and on the doors, just over here, you do have a key that you're going to need to change the blades. And on the back of the machine, we do have the storage for the power cable, and I believe that's 3 meters long, so that's definitely a decent size for a power cable. You're definitely not going to be needing an extension cord. And obviously you've got the dust port here and another onboard storage solution for the mitre gauge. And this mitre gauge is actually not too bad, and it does have a decent feature that I'm going to show you in a second. Let's have a look at the front of the machine. That slot over here is dedicated for the push stick that comes with this machine. As I said, onboard storage with this tool is really good. One really cool thing that they added to this machine, well thought of them, on each corner you've got this little plastic thingy with a hole inside. With that, you can quite easily attach this table saw to a cart that you can build, or your workbench or anything like that. So you do have the option to actually work with this tool without the folding legs, just use those as well. At the front, as you would expect, you've got the lever to raise the blade and lower it down. And of course you can change the position of the blade to up to 45 degrees. But you do have two positive stops on either side, and you can move those to go beyond 45. You do have a lever here, and to unlock that lever, and now you can change the position of your blade to the desired angle. Alright, let's change the blade on this. The blade that it comes in is box standard, and I want to install my Freud blade with 40 teeth. So let's have a look at the process to see how simple or hard it is to actually perform that. First of all, we need to take the blade guard. Next, the plate itself. You do have a nice hole for your finger to actually pull this out. And to my surprise, this is not plastic. It's actually made out of metal, which is fantastic news, because this is not going to be flexing. It's not going to go anywhere. Good quality plate in here for sure, guys. In the four corners, you've got some screws, thanks to which you can actually align this, making sure that the plate is level with your table. Let's have a look at the riving knife as well, as it's super easy to adjust it. You do have a lever, the red one just over here. You can undo it and move the riving knife to any position you want. So in this position, it will be below the level of the blade. So for example, you can do some dados, grooves, anything like that. So put the riving knife in the position you want. Lock it in place, just checking it with the blade is nice and straight, is not wobbling, is really nice and stable where it needs to be. Alright, and let's change the blade itself. Now you only do have one key to do this operation, but fortunately enough, that red lever just over here next to the blade will lock the spindle and it would prevent it from spinning. Then you can use your key to undo the nut itself. So there we go. Now the spindle's locked and I can undo the bolt. Can put the blade back in, and finally the blade guard on goes on. And that's it. Really nice and simple process to follow. Now let's have a look if this machine actually starts up. So let's go for it. Right, so as you've seen, it starts up fine. It does have a slow start by the looks of it. However, the stop button, it actually makes the blade to stop within seconds. I think maybe 3 or 4 seconds. Not sure how good that actually is for the nut holding the blade itself. I can see a problem where the blade actually comes loose because of that abrupt stop every single time. So that could be a concern. However, with testing over time, I will have a look if that will cause any problems. From one side, the quick stop is a good feature, as you know, it makes the machine a little bit safer to use. But I'm not sure how that would affect the longevity of the table saw itself and how secure the blade will stay with that facility there. And as we are talking about safety, guys, obviously they invested in the quick stop feature on this machine, but there is no paddle to quickly and easily shut off the machine. You only got the exposed button and that's it. I would expect at least a paddle to be able to quickly and easily stop the machine. However, at the same time, the switch itself is actually an NVR switch, okay? So it goes with the current regulations with regards power tools. What does it mean exactly? Well, as you start up the machine, and you lose power to it, when you put the power lead back in, this saw will not start. There you go. So even more so, it's so strange they've not included the paddle to quickly and easily shut off the machine. Alright, let's talk about the fence itself. From positive sides, it does lock from both sides, so from the back and from the front, with a lever just over here. And the connection is actually quite solid. It's quite nice. It's not going to be moving on you. However, as you undo the pressure, you can see there is a ton of movement at the end of the fence. So that potentially can lead to parallel issues to your mitre slot and to the blade itself. Now, I need to test that further to see if that is actually an issue. If it is, can I adjust the fence and how to do it? On top of it, you've got the auxiliary fence attached to the main fence. You've got some star knobs at the back. You can undo, and then you can pull this out. And if you've got, for example, smaller pieces that are not thick enough, this will be perfect for that. And for example, if you are using your mitre gauge to do some cross-cutting, this is a must-have accessory, as you can lock it in place, set the distance on that, and then you've got a clear space at the back of the blade. So it's nice that I've included that. Plus, as I mentioned, if you've got really thin pieces, now the gap between the fence and the table itself is absolutely minimal. And as we are talking about the mitre gauge, this is what you are getting. The mitre slot in here is a T-shaped one, okay? So not all aftermarket mitre gauges will fit in this. And as you can hear, and hopefully see, There is a bit of movement in that, as to be expected. However, you do have a feature to actually adjust that. And I can tell that my brother was not using this, and this is not adjusted. We'll be doing that in a separate video to see how accurate we can actually get this. On top of that, you do have some positive stops when it comes to the mitre gauge. If you can hear the clicks, and you do have the grooves indicating for the most common cuts. Right, let's have a look how loud this machine is. Let's have a look if it's super loud, super quiet, or somewhere in the middle. The decibel reader will be about 1 meter away from the machine itself. So let's have a look. Now, as you've seen, below 100 decibels, so it's not too bad at all for a job site, I have to say. But let's do a few test cuts and see how it performs. I'm going to hook up my shop vac and let's see how much dust it will actually generate as well. First of all, the cross cuts. Right, so I've noticed something strange. As you are pushing the mitre gauge, it's sticking somewhere. I'm not sure if it's the blade cover itself that the wood is, you know, getting hooked on it. And it's really hard to push it through as it prevents you from pushing the material through. Or is it the mitre gauge itself? I'm not sure. I need to investigate that further. However, now let's do some rip cuts. For the rip cuts, I'm going to be using laminated chipboard in melamine, as this produces a lot of dust. And we'll see how dusty this machine really gets. Let's make the cuts. Okay, check out the dust situation. On the table itself, there's actually hardly anything. Comparing to the Rage 5, I would have a pile of dust on top. But there's hardly anything here. And look at that, underneath, just a tiny sprinkle. Nothing major at all. At the front of the machine, again, just a bit of a sprinkle, but nothing major at all. So yeah, quite impressed with the dust collection on this saw. Alright, and as you can see, and I'm genuinely impressed with this, the dust collection on this saw is actually quite good. I can't believe this. I've got all this timber to go through, so I think this table saw will be up to the test and we'll see how it performs. So hopefully the follow-up video with how this saw actually performs, the dust collection, how accurate it is, how to tune it up. I hope that those videos won't be too far away. As I said, I've got upcoming project that I need to go through a lot of timber, and that's the saw I'm going to be using to tackle that. Hopefully that will give me a better indication about the true performance of this table saw. Overall, it's not too bad. It didn't blow me away. But it's not too bad. As I said, I'm going to be checking everything out for how square it is, how accurate it is in future videos. This video would be just too long for all that. Two major concerns I do have with this particular saw is the fence itself. When it's not locked, it does wobble a bit, and I need to calibrate it and see exactly if it goes parallel to the blade itself when you actually lock it in place. In my opinion, by the looks of things, there may be an issue with that, but I'm not sure if that's because the fence been in use, it's not been calibrated, or is it a issue that is with every single table saw from Metabo from this type. Secondly is the abrupt stop option. Again, safety feature, really cool. However, I'm not sure how that will affect the stability of the machine, the blade itself. And if it's not going to come loose, if that nut will not come loose due to the forces that be when you stop that quick, again, time and testing will tell. Overall impressions, quite decent saw actually. Problem is, this table saw will cost you about 530 British pounds, whereas the Rage 5 Evolution is about 300 British pounds on Amazon right now. So is it worth spending that extra 200 pounds on this table saw? I won't be able to answer you on this video, but stick with me and wait for future videos on this table saw and we'll see if it is. But if you are interested in other tools, reviews and testing, everything like that, or maybe workshop projects, I've got some really cool playlists just over here for you. Go ahead, click on those and maybe you'll find your next video to watch. Hopefully I'll see you on one of those videos there. Take care for now.